Hi, my name is Linda Cahn, and I'm the founder and president of Pharmacy Benefit Consultants, a nationwide consulting company that's working to change the prescription coverage marketplace. Towards that end, we are creating and disseminating a series of free internet videos, including the one that you're watching today. During today's video, we will be walking you through 3 critical generic drug issues. How do we know that PBMs are profiting and health plans are losing savings from PBMs' generic drug practices? How do PBMs manipulate health plans' contracts to do so? And what must you do to ensure that your health plan obtains 100% of generic drug savings? So let's get started with issue number 1. First, make no mistake, every PBM may claim to be focused on generic drugs, and every PBM may tout its clients have high generic drug usage. But it is PBMs, not health plans, that are retaining a large portion of, or even most of, the financial benefits that result from generic drugs. How do we know that fact, you might ask? For 2 reasons. First, because we've extensively studied PBM's SEC filings, and here's what we found. Medco's 2007 annual statement indicates our net income increased 44.7% for 2007, reflecting higher generic dispensing rates and mail order penetration. Caremark's and Express Scripts' 2007 SEC statements contain similar information. Also, from our work in this field for more than 10 years, we know that most PBMs pay for mail-order generic drugs getting average aggregate discounts of approximately 75 to 80%, but invoice their health plan clients for generic drugs and provide aggregate average mail-order discounts of only 45 to 55%. And sometimes PBMs provide even weaker average discounts than that. That means that PBMs are retaining at least 20 to 35% of the mail generic drug discounts that your health plan could receive, if only you could figure out how to ensure that your PBM would pass through those discounts to you in their entirety. So let's turn to issue number 2. How is it that PBMs are managing to retain such a large portion of generic drug benefits for themselves? If you've watched our firm's other videos, you know the answer to that question. PBMs manipulate their contracts with their clients to do so. Let me show you what I mean. Our firm has analyzed hundreds and hundreds of PBM contracts, and virtually all such contracts allow PBMs to retain a large portion of generic drug savings by manipulating the contracts in 3 ways. PBMs write contract definitions for 3 terms, brand drugs, generic drugs, and MAC, that are purposely ambiguous and subject to different interpretation. PBMs include pricing formulas for invoicing their clients, like your health plan, that take advantage of the bad definitions the PBMs have written. And PBMs include generic guarantees in their contracts that, again, take advantage of the bad definitions they have written, especially the MAC definition. Here are typical brand drug and generic drug definitions. Now, these definitions allow PBMs to categorize brands as generics and generics as brands. Take a moment and freeze this video on this slide and read through the definitions, and you'll see what I mean. As a result of these definitions, PBMs can mislabel drugs, charge brand prices for generic drugs, retain rebates for brand drugs by calling the drugs generic drugs, and misstate and inflate your health plan's generic drug use. Now let's turn to the typical definition for MAC found in PBM contracts. Take a moment and freeze the video and read through this definition as well. Now, what's the effect of this legalese that you're seeing before you? PBMs can create a MAC list, but omit as many generic drugs as they want from the list. PBMs can choose any price they want as their MAC prices for generic drugs. PBMs can change which drugs are included on their MAC lists and their MAC prices whenever PBMs want. Obviously, a very ambiguous definition. Now, having written ambiguous definitions for brand drug, generic drug, and MAC, PBMs are free to manipulate their pricing formulas. Again, let me show you what I mean. Here are typical pricing formulas for retail brand drugs and retail generic drugs found in hundreds and hundreds of contracts that we've reviewed. For retail brand drugs, the PBM may agree to invoice your plan at AWP minus 18%. And for retail generic drugs, the PBM may agree to invoice your plan for the lowest of AWP minus 18% or the PBM's MAC or the usual and customary or UNC price. But note how easily these formulas can be manipulated. Given that PBMs can mislabel brand drugs as generics and generics as brands, PBMs can use either formula for either type of drug. Also, although PBMs have written a three-pronged formula that looks great for generic drugs, it is likely that two of the three prongs may be eliminated from use because the MAC prong won't be available for all generic drugs that PBMs omit from their MAC list, and the usual and customary prong won't be available in most instances, since usual and customary prices are typically higher than any discounted AWP. That means that your health plan may very well be invoiced for generic drugs at AWP minus 18%, which is essentially a brand discount. And that in turn means that your health plan will be robbed of all generic drug savings. Finally, let's look at how PBMs manipulate generic drug guarantees. Here's the basic contract language that contains a generic drug guarantee. For all generic drugs with a MAC, PBM will provide an average discount of 58%. Now, this guarantee is anything but a real guarantee because it only covers generic drugs for which your PBM has created a MAC. And as we've already explained, PBMs are free under contract MAC definitions to create MACs for as few drugs as they choose. So what's the net effect of PBM's generic drug contract terms in almost every PBM contract? PBMs can manipulate how they label drugs. PBMs can manipulate their generic and MAC prices to charge you far more than PBMs are actually paying. PBMs can appear to be providing decent generic drug guarantees, but their guarantees are essentially weak or entirely useless, and PBMs can essentially charge you any price they want for generic drugs. So let's wrap this video up and describe what you need to do right now to ensure that your health plan, not your PBM, obtains the benefits of generic drug use. First, review your contract and verify that it contains the problems we've described. Second, draft an entirely new form of contract. Include entirely different contract definitions. Eliminate MAC from the contract completely. Require real pass-through pricing for every retail and mail generic drug dispensed, as we've described in another of our videos that you should make sure to download and watch from our website. Include airtight aggregate generic guarantees for every drug dispensed, not just the drugs that your PBM wants to guarantee. Include an exhibit schedule that identifies 200 or more of the most commonly used generic drugs and identifies a maximum per pill price guarantee for each drug dispensed, both at retail and at mail. Include a regular right to renegotiate all prices and all guarantees in the contract, coupled with a 90-day with or without cause termination right. Also, since it's not likely that any PBM will give you the contract terms you've drafted unless you force it to do so, plan to conduct a PBM RFP. And watch our other videos on our website, including our video explaining how to conduct RFPs. And subscribe on our YouTube site to receive all our new videos as we release them. Finally, retain a consulting firm that's staffed with lawyers, not salesmen, and make sure the lawyers have real expertise in drafting and negotiating contracts. Because as you can see from all of our firm videos, PBMs are endlessly able to fill your contract with scores and scores of loopholes. Therefore, if you don't have a lawyer with extensive knowledge of the PBM industry on your side, you're likely to end up with yet another terrible contract. In fact, we urge you to contact our firm and we'll be glad to assist you in all of the tasks we've just described. So give us a call. Here's our contact information. Good luck, and we look forward to hearing from you.